Let's look closer on ecosystem population and painter. You can paint ecosystem on different objects, but we'll look just to paint right in our main infinity terrain. For this, we'll just go ahead and click on our paint tool, and it will open ecosystem painter. Okay, so first on top we have the painter tool. When we start paint, we can select single instance and we can actually control this way. We also have restrictions to select that object. So if, for example, I want to paint just on a rock or some blob effect, I can select this one, and we can restrict to selected instance when we have an instance available in our collections. We also can hide from render, and we can set display options. Display options allowed us to select different type of the quality. Again, it's going from none or lower quality, and we can go to smoother shader. In many cases, you probably just want to keep it as default, shaded billboard, so it's always face to you can preview. And also options allowed full quality linear camera. So when we start looking from the view, you will have it better quality up front of the camera. If your video card have a slow performance, you can also disable this option. Okay, and we also have an option to clear all scenery. So right now below we have a set of the brushes. We'll look on the set in a second. Let's go first and add some plants so we can start painting around. You'll notice right here we have a collection of our ecosystem populations object that we can use it in our scenery. And we have the same selection as in material editor: rocks, plants, objects. So we can add objects even external, we can import them. We can select from collection of the rock, and for now I'll just want to use it plants. So I'm selecting, it's open on my plants, and I'm going to add plum tree. So next, let's just as a mix, we'll go and we'll select another plant, maybe maple. So something is different ones. All right, let's go orange maple, so we can see the distinguish difference between them. At this point, you'll notice my brushes changes, and I can actually start painting on the elements. Okay, let me go for this, select populate tool, and I can see right here I start painting. When I paint, you also notice I have different sizes that applied, and I can control this by switching to the airbrush style, invert brush radius, flow, fallout. Also control on my scale and density. So let's go do this way. I'm going to select eraser now because, for example, I don't like it, and I go with my eraser, just remove all of them. Okay, and I want to just use it single instant. Instead, brush all of them, randomize, and I want only select items. So I select plum tree, and I can go right here, start kind of placing single plum tree. So, and this is nice, so I can paint around. I can paint with select or everything. I can paint with just that plant that affecting. I also can modify just for this plant quality of preview and look good. Okay, next, for example, I want to say, okay, I create brush clean, but I want effect. So, and right here we have some interesting brushes that utilize effectors. You can do the same effectors for when you use it different type ventilators, or if we're using different type of the effectors on the particles. But let's see what we can do. First, we can drag around, we can move, we can jigger or position. So for us to preview, let's create grid align. You notice right here, so when I start, it's kind of start moving trees, start realigning them. Okay. Next, for example, I can use the magnet, and magnet, you can see it's kind of realign and drag plants position to my magnet. Okay, we have additional, this one kind of fun to see, ripple. Okay, and let's say brush bigger. So you can see it's kind of started jiggling them around right here. And of course, if you have it more plants different, it will adjust almost like tornado, going and mix them around. Okay, and right here our tornado, which is swirl and bring those objects just around right here. Again, because I put it to the ground, they kind of swirl around. If we have an object not linked to the ground, they literally will start flying up. So right here you can see, let's go raise them up, put tornado, and you can see now our trees start kind of floating around in the air. Okay, till our tree is floating, let's maybe modify on some colors. Okay, so we can slightly paint. Okay, and you can modify, you can lean same way. So let's don't save this brush. So we can go lean, and in some cases lean will work more on the grass or plants that apply to the object than directly to our surface. So it's kind of a little bit different. We can also scale specific plants, reposition. The sum brushes is combination of several. So for example, if we want to change color and scale at the same time, we can go click on a scale and color combine. And you notice right here we have our additional parameters that we can switch scale. For example, I want more yellow, and for this one I actually want reduce scale, so I can apply specifically this to the plants that I created, so they will be changed colors and they will be scaled down compared to other ones. Besides that, you can always create your own brushes or combinations. So for this, in our brush preset, you'll notice we have save, load, delete, or customize brush. So I can click on edit brush, and right here it's open for edit the brush same that I currently use. So be careful, be sure you save if you modify brush and you don't want override existence, you want to save as different name. So for example, so we call it tutorial, and right here I can add different effectors. Let's look on the list of effectors. We have a single instance, populate, erase, scaling, color, it's what we currently have, magnet attraction, we have lean out, rake, ripple, so almost all of those basics that you saw inside. So for example, let's go add tornado, and maybe, you know, remove scaling so you can see, but we want coloring as well. Now, as you add additional effector, the properties of this effector will add below. So in this case, we have it with tornado effector, we have it our flow, angle, with the angle, and all this additional options, string, height, so we can affect width and how much it will go around. You also notice we have it show this in paint echo painting system, so it's meaning these properties right now I am edit, but if I want to take these properties and display right here with additional parameters, I can kind of link them on open for the user to view. So for example, let's say angle enable, and look right here in additional parameters. Now we have this property that you can access directly. So you think if you will modify wing string, so we can enable, in this case you can access inside your ecosystem painter without going and try to modify brush and save it again. So also right here we have a hug underline object, and currently it was disabled, so if we re-enable it's allowed us to move them up and down, and we'll just move also. Next, fallout filter. It's a fact that same almost everywhere where you see this kind of window, it is filter, and you can modify these filters by selecting. If you double clicked left mouse, you have it come to collections, they can select it, or if you can customize, you can right click and go to the edit filter, and this way you can draw or custom add points and modify filter, make very custom in this case. Okay, we also can apply specific mask that base it on the image if you need it, and mask can apply of distribution. For example, if we have it our terrain and we was creating with a image-based distribution map, so then we can load it as a mask, and in this case we can paint in those restrictions of the masks as we wanted. And of course, if we select mask, okay, let's go to bitmap, we can invert, we can preload the other ones, rotate around the masks. Okay, we can also tile mask with an offset if we need infinity or its terrains differently, and also what scale of the mask. We also can force it settings, and it will override settings global for your brush, so we can set size, flow, and fallout. Again, fallout, brush radius, it's how large is our brush. Flow, it's intensity, how much it will placed on. And we have it fallout, it's diminishing from the center to the edge of the brush, how fast it will diminish that. Okay, so we'll set these options. Let's go to environment, and inside the environment we also can set some constraints based on altitude. It depends if you don't want those plants or object be below some or above altitude on specific areas. Fuzziness top and bottom, again it is how it's blending on the edges. Slope constraint, orientation constraint. So this is exactly the same options that you find in your material editor on the environmental tab. So it's treated in some cases as a material distribution just only for ecosystem. So you can see you have quite a bit large options that you can modify, combine brushes together, and create your own unique brushes for the ecosystem how you want to paint. And if you work on larger projects, in some cases you can use it with a scale and coloring and based on altitude, so you can create brush that will place at specific plants on the altitude and with specific orientation. Okay, when we're done, let's close this one. And right here we have our custom brush, so you can kind of effecting on those brushes. So let's click select to restricted areas, and in some, like in this effect, you don't see anything happening because how we apply to ecosystem. We can go ahead and let's close it, this one. We'll take our ecosystem out. Okay, we'll go to select, create new object. Okay, let's go ahead. And at this point we'll open paint editor, and notice I'm open when object is selected. So when we have it restrict to select objects. Okay, let's select painting tool. Okay, and see right now when I try to paint, it's only painting inside this object because I said to restrict and it's selected, so it's one paint on a side. It's other options. And also notice right here, if I want to place more, it does not allow me. The reason why, because limited density is enabled. So if I need to uncheck, if I want to create a lot of density, so I can uncheck, and at this moment you can see I can just place a tons of those plants, so they go like crazy. Again, it's because brush flow. So what I want to do, it is reset. Let's say limited density, again enable. I want to take brush flow and I want to take lower. So in this case, I can a little bit more control how many I put it. Again, I'm restricting to the object I selected. Okay. So next time, if I want to have it another object, I can add it and restrict just the painting of the ecosystem, and it's going to be not necessarily just a plant, it can be tree or rocks, and we can paint directly on this object. If you get overwhelmed with all these options, don't worry. When we start working on some project, the probably best way to learn when you start working with a specific scenery and apply it. And that's what we're going to do when we start adding some of this to our mountains painting. We go inside the brushes and we'll start creating custom brushes and modify, apply them. Overall, again, this is kind of a little bit more in-depth overview of Ecosystem Painter that you can access directly from your bar or from Edit and from the brush menu.